Hello and welcome to the Downshift, brought to you by Schwags, Lockie, Huppy and myself, KT, as we preview the United States Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas. Yeehaw, Huppy! You let us down!
Took me by surprise, that one.
In this episode, we'll preview the race.
I'll give you my expert weather forecast tips.
We'll try and cover off all that's happening off track, debate what we think is going to happen with the Drivers' Championship, and indulge ourselves a little bit as we do a little bit of a review of Australia's greatest race, Bathurst. All this mixed in with a little bit of banter and some gentle ribbing.
So it's lights out.
Drop the clutch.
And let's get racing.
Hello and welcome to the Downshift as we prepare for the American Grand Prix at COTA, Circuit of the Americas. But before we get into the F1, this past weekend was a holy day in motorsport for Australian fans, as all eyes turned to a little mountain in remote New South Wales, the ultimate race on the Australian motorsport calendar, Bathurst. Now, as is tradition, we all made our way over to Huppies to spend the day watching this iconic race. But for those of you who don't know the Bathurst 1000, Lockie, why don't you take our listeners through what makes Bathurst so special?
Absolutely happy to. So it pretty much the Bathurst 1000, as it's called over here, it's basically a bucket list item for anyone who's into Australian motorsport. Generally held in October. What we do is we have our AFL Grand Final for our football. We have our rugby one the following week, and then generally we have Bathurst the week after. So we get 3 weekends in a row. We don't have to do any gardening. So that works out very well for all of us. It's generally held there. It's always in Mount Panorama in Bathurst, New South Wales, Australia there as well. So we have what we call V8 supercars, which is similar to NASCARs. We ran Ford Mustang GTs, and then we've also now got the Camaro, the ZL1 Camaro running. Next year, we introduced the new Toyota Supra as the third manufacturer to be running as well. Now, this one is it's quite a long circuit, so it's 6.2 kilometre circuit, or treacherous 6.2 kilometre circuit, place over 161 laps, so basically 1,000 kilometres, and we call it the race of attrition because generally not everyone makes it. 23 turns in total, narrow concrete walls as we go around. There's no runoff areas on the majority of the track as well, and then including that 174 metres of elevation change as we go through as well, which if you ever watch the race, watch them climb the hill and then come back down when they go down Conrod Straight is nuts. So coming across, goes across the sky, what we call skyline as well, and then they go down what we call the Dipper, down to Forest Elbow, and when we head down to Conrod Straight, generally up to around 300 kilometres an hour, watching the cars go down. And this year, there was 2 of them going side by side, coming down that straight at the same time, and it was slightly wet as well. That's about as exciting as you can possibly get watching them do that. Now, Bathurst is renowned for also having changed weather, so you might have a dry track down the bottom, but it might be raining at the top of the circuit at the same time. So drivers coming through there, they've got no idea if they're going to be hitting, rain, wet, slippery challenges. It's all fantastic to watch. They call it one of the world's most challenging motorsports event. Now, internationally, it's internationally broadcast now, so it had about 1.2 million viewers watching it. We had 198,000 people there on Sunday in person watching the event, so it's a pretty phenomenal track. And then over the weekend, there was 460,000 people who were over the weekend. So, Nate, why don't you take us through the actual race and what happened quickly?
Oh, I don't know if I can summarise it quickly. It was
you got 30 seconds.
Hang on, 30 seconds. Oh, well, compared to the dry weather running of last year's race with, I think, no safety cars last year, it was a pretty quiet affair. This year was an absolute banger of a race. It was 27 cars entered, 21 finished, so we had 6 retirements. The winner was a Ford driven by Matt Payne, another Kiwi. Lots of Kiwis coming over and dominating supercars. We've seen that with Gisbergen and McLaren, and Matt Payne could be another. We don't know yet. He won with Garth Tander, who's retired from full-time driving, but that equaled his 6th Bathurst win, which is a massive, massive achievement. So he's up there with some of the best.
Yeah, it puts him in equal third, I think it is.
Yeah. A bit of heartbreak for some young guys. Cooper Murray, who was turned around during the last part of the race when it was wet, as Lachlan said. Not just a little bit wet, it was properly hosing down for a while at Bathurst. And the weather, like technically flag marshals are supposed to be able to see the next flag marshal point visually, there was so much thick cloud across the top of the mountain at the end of that race. I guarantee they could not see each other. All you could see was headlights coming through cloud. It was incredible to watch. 7 safety cars, which is around about the average. I think the race average is about 6. And one of the highlights, of course, was good old Chaz Mostert. His engine broke down. He parked it halfway down Conrod Straight, hopped out of the car and wandered over to a bunch of fans sitting there, and they gave him a can of beer, and he met a few of the locals and had a quiet drink, which is great spectating.
It's that typical Aussie style, isn't it?
Oh, it reminded me of Kimi Räikkönen in Monaco, crashing the car and just wandering off to his yacht and sitting in the spa and having a beer.
Didn't Oscar have a banana in water though?
Yeah,
it was a little
Wasn't
bit
quite the
different to
same.
cracking the beer.
Oscar needs to take some lessons on how to finish a race and walk out.
Agreed.
Yacht, fold out chair.
Yeah.
But no, it was a fantastic race. And there's been a lot of chat overnight from everyone around the world who's watched it, and a lot of NASCAR folks saying, recommending people watch the highlights. And there are some extended highlights on YouTube. Definitely worth a watch, because supercars is so competitive. The racing's tight. They race in all kinds of weather. It can be hosing down. Wet tires on supercars are pretty good. But just some of the driving, like there were some young, inexperienced cars in that top 5, top 10 at the end of the race there. You've done nearly 1,000 Ks of door-to-door flat-out racing. It's hosing down. There's cloud across the top of this mountain. You cannot make a mistake. And they just drove exceptionally well. Like, it was a really great example of a really great racing series.
And look, what I'll do is I'll pop a link in the description in the bottom for one of those highlight packages for the race. But to your point, Huppy, and I mean, we're talking about some rookies now. Cooper Murray, in the last 15 laps of the race, there was nose-to-nose racing. And Cooper Murray, who was a rookie, who was in the lead, got turned around on turn 2 about 7 laps before the end of the race, dropping him back to 4th. But when you think about it, and as Lockie was saying, 161 laps over 1,000 kilometres, at the end, the gap between first and second was 0.959 seconds. So it's that close. You don't see that in a lot of other endurance events like that.
Yeah, and don't forget, it's not a flat racetrack. Like, the elevation is insane. If you actually go there, it's difficult to walk up some of the track. It is that steep. And these guys they're banging around there with 600 plus horsepower race cars, rear-wheel drive, sliding around. The curbs are slippery. The walls are close. The painted lines are slippery. They're braking downhill. It's incredible driving. Like, really good to watch.
Well, at your place, we were watching that, and they were coming around side by side at some points, and both the cars were sliding around the corners going up the hill, and we were all standing up there screaming because 2 of them going, 1 and 2, neck and neck, scrambling trying to get up there, and neither of them had traction, and you could see their backs were just coming out, and we we're all just going.
And you can't fit another car up there either. It's too wide.
Oh, they tried.
Widest.
Well, they tried.
Yeah. So anyway, the board.
Understandably, there's driver change, but they've also been driving near on 5 hours, isn't it? That they've been, going at it.
At least
went for 7 hours.
Went for 7.
Each driver is not allowed to do more than a 3.5 hour stint. So, and that was actually coming to the tail end of the race. There was one of the drivers who was just reaching that. And because of the safety cars, had there been another safety car, they actually would have been disqualified, or he would have had to pull in to do a driver change because he was going to go over that allocation of time.
So, banger of a race. Definitely watch the highlights, as Christian will link to below. And also, I guess it's worth mentioning, the broadcast quality of supercars is something to admire. And I think Formula One broadcasters could learn a thing or two.
Well, following last week's comments, Huppy.
I don't know about that because we didn't see any of the wives or girlfriends of the drivers on the weekend, and that was a bit disappointing for me, I think.
But we saw all of the overtakes. We saw all of the action. There was picture-in-picture. There was race timing. There was expert commentary. Like, it was done very, very well, as usual. Like, Supercars is a polished production. So
even the tower on the side of the screen had the segments in it too, so you could see what was going on with the segments. That noted if they were pitting or had pitted, the colour for which driver was in, whether it was the primary driver or the secondary driver. Yeah, they do a good job of it.
The only time they really cut away from racing action for more than sort of 20 or 30 seconds was to watch Chaz wander off and have a beer with the locals, which everyone everyone loved. That'll be replayed on Bathurst highlights for many years to come.
Yeah, who won the race? I don't know. Chaz got a beer with a mate, with the locals.
But when he wandered off too, well, they actually cut away to the pit garage, and his entire pit team were killing themselves laughing when he cracked that beer and sat down. They thought it was brilliant.
What else? What else you got to do?
Still, it's following the driver. It's following the drivers in regards to what they are doing. So, and even the cutaways were to the drivers in the garage, and to your point, using this modern technology of split screen.
Oh,
Who would have
They
thought?
do, they do a good job.
Has that been around for long?
A couple of years.
Couple of years, yeah.
Maybe a couple. Maybe 3. I don't know. But the
decades?
commentators do a good
Oh,
job too. They don't miss any action. They're very on it, and they'll go back and cover stuff that's interesting. And I think the whole production is just really, really good.
Yeah, it's definitely
It's
worth
good
a
to
watch for anyone who hasn't watched it. I mean, look, there was a predicted 1.2 million viewers around the world. So obviously it's a lot of attention elsewhere. To your point, NASCAR are all over it as well, because we do see a lot of these drivers either come from other classes coming to prove their worth on the mountain, but you've also got a lot of the V8 supercar drivers who do end up going over to the States to give it a go at NASCAR as well. So have a look at the link down below. Check out the action. Leave us some comments as to what you thought. If you did get to see it, especially for our overseas listeners, would love to know what you think. Because it is a unique race where in the motorsport world, a lot of drivers, it is on their top 5 list of tracks to race in their career. So with that, we approach a race weekend with the United States Grand Prix at Austin's high-octane showdown at COTA, the Circuit of the Americas. So, Schwags, perhaps you'd like to lead us in with a little bit of the stats on the upcoming race
let's
at
get
COTA.
into it. Now being this is still my rookie year, that's an interesting looking track. Couple of nice straights and lots of bendy bits and a couple of really tight corners in there to boot.
It's cornery, I think Lachlan
yeah,
says.
cornery.
Cornery, nice.
We've got to get this going.
Is that the only phrase we've coined so far this season?
I think.
Anyway, so we got a circuit length of 5.513 kilometres. First run in 2012, so relatively new track. Number of laps 56. Fastest lap time was 1:36.169 by Charles Leclerc in 2019. So total race distance of 3:08.728.
I've got to say, I'm interested that the fact that hasn't been broken yet. That's 6 years, or coming up on 6 years now, and that lap record hasn't been broken. Most of them have tumbled since then.
That actually is quite interesting, isn't it? Yeah, a lot of the records are only 2 or 3 years old at most.
Yeah, and considering how strong Ferrari was, and we'll get into that last year, interesting to see.
Too early for a rookie question. When did the last regs change? What year was that?
It was 20.
So this is in the old car then. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, some of the cars prior to this reg change were fast. I think you might find it's only maybe a second or two. It's sort of gone up and down over the last 6 or so years, and the prediction for next year, for 2026, is they might start off a second or two slower, but within 12 months be back on par with current sort of lap times.
So we might see another gap of no records being
2 or 3
taken
years.
out.
I think that's their
Initially.
expectation, but yeah, you know how fast Formula One teams develop, so you just never know.
Yeah,
And the fact that
looking
you've got a
forward to
different power unit coming through with that instant energy through the tripling of the size of the battery. So you could see some interesting lap times, especially for those who have been really practicing on the simulator and have got used to the new car that's coming through. So it is a roller coaster of drama under the Texan sun. And as we know, everything's big in Texas. Schwags, to your point, it is a very interesting track. A very cornery track with 2 DRS zones. The Downshift crew actually I was going to say drove the track last week on iRacing, but I think drove is probably a loose term.
I'd like to say attempted is probably a better word to use.
I'm not putting my hand up for that.
But it is famous for its steep uphill climb into the iconic observation tower, and that coming out of the start-finish line, you'll see that in regards to the climb to a sharp left-hander. You'll be forgiven to think that this track actually looks like other tracks, because there's a lot that's actually gone into this where turns 3 and 6 look not too dissimilar to Silverstone's high-speed run through Maggots and Beckett's. The S curves are similar to that of Suzuka, and turns 12 through 15 actually mimic Hockenheim's stadium sections. So there's some really nice mixes of dynamics through the track here as well.
It's got a couple of distinct sort of sectors, and I think one of the best viewing points is getting a view from turn 2 down through to turn 6, because those corners look reasonably tight for a normal car, but the speed that these cars can carry through there is absolutely phenomenal. So, it's a great spectating event.
So if we look at 2024, as we reflect on the previous race, we actually had Lando Norris, who took out pole for the race. But with a lot happening through it, and we'll jump into that in a second as the team can take us through some of those highlights. But we had Charles Leclerc finishing first with a double finish for Ferrari, with Carlos Sainz in second, followed by Max Verstappen, and the two papayas in fourth and fifth, with Norris and Piastri wrapping up the top five.
It looked like a reasonable race for McLaren last year, and like Lando put in a pretty special lap, I think, to get pole. But the Ferraris were just unbeatable there. They just had mega speed. They were really good.
You reckon we're expecting the same this weekend from Ferrari?
Well, it's
no
going to suit them
stopping
better
them again this weekend.
It won't be their worst track. I think they'll be okay. Yeah.
Well, as we get into our weather in a second, this is a track which is suited more to the Ferrari than it is the Mercedes, and we're seeing that with Mercedes and Ferrari, there is the battle for the second place in the constructors, only split by 27 points. So obviously, with Georgie's performance last weekend, we saw a dominant win for that, which popped Mercedes ahead of Ferrari, so they'll be wanting some redemption. But to Huppy's point is, with Charles being quite dominant through the race, he actually took the corner, the corner on lap 1, where there was a bit of pushing and shoving between Verstappen and Norris. As you'll recall, that this was the time where Norris actually had a glimmer of hope to challenge Verstappen for the Drivers' Championship. So we saw them go wide out into the corner of turn 1, where Verstappen then took second place, but Leclerc was able to get past both of them to go into first and hold first. And then we also saw at the tail end of the race where we had Verstappen and Norris fighting for third place, where they actually went wide, and Norris actually got a 5-second penalty for taking advantage by going off track, where McLaren opted to roll the dice and keep Norris in front of Verstappen, and so then he got relegated to fourth.
Yeah, turn 1 at this track is, when you see it on camera, you can see, like, if you see a photo or freeze frame of like the first lap and cars going up there, it's about 10 cars wide. Like, it's really wide heading up the hill. So lap 1 especially, there can be chaos because there's so many lines you can take into that corner. It's a very sharp apex, but there will be people having a dive up there for sure. So keep an eye out for that.
Always makes it interesting with slightly colder tyres as well. So whether or not they can then hold that corner, or they are going to push wide and go from there as well.
Who's going to just plunge it up the inside and take someone out? Yep.
So as we all know, weather plays a massive role in Formula One. So going to our resident weather guru, Lockie, what does the weekend look like for the Formula One?
Look, I've actually had people coming up to me now as well, but they're actually tuning into our podcast just to make sure that the weather predictions are going to be fine for the weekend. So,
you've been stopped on the street, have you?
Well, look, I get recognised now. What can I say? It makes it hard when I'm wearing my non-distinctive American hat as well. So that
do up your fly.
Well, that comment has been made as well, but that's a separate issue altogether. Let's move on from that. So, look, we're coming away from obviously where it was night race last time. Very, very humid. We're going to America now, where we've dropped the humidity down. And we are expecting, because this is a sprint weekend, so we're going to have free practice one Friday around 12:30, and then the quali at 4:30. Sunny, gentle breeze, 28 degrees, and very low levels of humidity for the Friday, which will be nice. Saturday, we've obviously got the sprint at 12, and then qualifying at 4. Again, sunny, gentle breeze. It will be about 31 potentially, so they may have to bust out the cool suits if it's going to be doing that. And look, almost no chance of rain on the Saturday as well. So Sunday, race day, we're looking at 2 o'clock coming up for that one. Forecast is going to be sunny and warm. Chance of rain in the morning, but it should not upset the actual race because obviously it'll be in the afternoon from that way. Temperature is going to be hanging around possibly 31, 32 degrees. Again, may have to break out the cool suits for that as well. And we're talking humidity for the weekend will be around that 45, 50%, so a lot more comfortable for the drivers than it was last time in Singapore.
Oh, I have to say I'm disappointed with that, Lachlan. We want some rain. We need to spice things up a bit, like Bathurst. That's what we want.
I can't make it rain. I can request it, but I can't force it to come through.
Oh, for the man who keeps claiming to be God.
Shh. Everyone
Let's
get
see.
jealous. Calm
We're
down.
still how many days? 5 days away. It might change. Maybe we'll
It
get
could
some
shift,
showers.
and you
I'll
never know.
start
The
doing a
morning
dance
could
in the
move
backyard
over.
and see if I can get something happening for us.
Yeah, right. We'll rain dance for the rest of the week.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So now don't forget, this weekend is also, as Lockie just mentioned, a sprint race weekend. We've got 6 sprints throughout the season, with 3 already passed and now 3 within the next 6 races coming up. So there is the opportunity for some additional points on Saturday. So as we head into the race, why don't we have a look in regards to what our thoughts are on some of the hot topics. Obviously, look, with Carlos Sainz having done so well last year in the Ferrari, do you think he could do the same thing in the blue car?
No.
But Ferrari could still be pretty quick here. So I think you're right to look at the battle between Ferrari and Mercedes. That'll be an interesting one to watch.
Can Mercedes repeat from Singapore?
So where did Kimi finish last week? I forgot.
So Kimi finished in 5th, just ahead of Charles Leclerc. So you're right. Anything could be possible here.
So that's going to make it hard for Ferrari to get past Mercedes, isn't it? You'd think, unless they have a good weekend.
Only 27 points.
And surprisingly, the Mercedes did well in the hot temperatures of Singapore with the humidity as well. So it'll be interesting to see if humidity plays a part in that. And will we see a repeat of the battle between Verstappen and Norris, given the fact that Max has now got his eyes on potentially the World Championship again, or at least knocking off Norris to become second? What are our thoughts on Max?
You think Lando's more worried about losing second or trying to get first?
Well, I think he'd be more focused on getting points off Oscar. But Verstappen is the complicating factor because he's been so quick the last few rounds that we've got to expect he's going to be fast here again and in the mix.
Yeah, well, you've got to remember that Max has won Monza and Azerbaijan, the last 2 races before Singapore. So he's strong at the moment. And you know, with McLaren falling off the pedestal at any stage, that's opportunity for Max. And as we're saying, Max has got everything to gain and nothing to lose.
He's strong. The car's strong. McLaren's plateaued a bit.
But for the McLaren drivers, so going into this event, if you knew you were going to finish second or third and Max was going to win, would you really care? Like, he's not going to get that many points off you for the championship. As long as you're second or third, and if you're Oscar, you want to finish second and take a few points off Lando or vice versa. Yeah, I mean, look, the win would be great, but the McLaren guys will be thinking about the championship.
And so that begs the question, will McLaren's number 2 driver get his elbows out?
So which one's that?
Well,
I was putting out there to see who thought the number 2 driver was.
Are we showing our Australian bias here? Is that what's going on?
haven't we been doing that all season?
Unashamed bias.
Go Oscar.
No, I mean,
it won't matter. He'll be at Ferrari next year anyway.
It'll be...
Rumour has it.
I think I saw a comment. Someone asked Lewis Hamilton what Oscar should do, whether he should let Lando back through if he was told to or whatever. And I think Hamilton's comment was, it's a world championship on the line. Why would you do that? Like, I don't know. Apparently Oscar's team had a bit of a discussion with McLaren last week, and rumour was it didn't go that great. So I don't know. Maybe the gloves are off. We might see a different side of Oscar for the next 6 rounds. I think it's only 6 rounds left, isn't it?
What a storm in a teacup from last weekend, though. Really?
Oh,
I mean, I don't want to harp on about old stuff, but they're like, you look at it, and you hear some people talking. There probably wasn't that much in it, not to have sort of been that newsworthy. But
probably not. But when you consider that, look, there's all this tension bubbling under the surface. One of the main rules in the papaya rules was do not hit each other, and I think the fact that Lando hit Oscar, intentional or not, that's what's caused the angst in the Piastri camp and why Oscar was like, what's going on? So that's the thing. If they've got these papaya rules, they've got to stick to them. But the problem is every time something happens and McLaren have to make a team decision about changing the order of their drivers, they're potentially opening up a can of worms. There's always going to be some grey areas or questions like a slow pit stop or an accidental bump into a corner. Like, how do you got to draw a line somewhere? Yeah, they're making decisions about driver positions, which is tough for fans to watch.
Was there a similar blow up after Canada?
When Lando crashed into the back of Oscar.
That was perhaps not deliberate, but he wasn't He wasn't racing for position, got nudged, accidentally went into Oscar. Anyway, we could be here all night.
But look, to Hubby's point is this is where when you talk about fairness, it's an intangible measure. So the fact that last week when Oscar said, "Hang on, what's going on?" and they said, we're not going to review it now. We'll review it after the race. Well, sorry, that has an impact. That doesn't have an impact on the outcome of the race. So you're not going to then come to COTA and go, okay, look, based on our review last week, Lando, you're in second, Oscar's in third. We're going to ask you to swap positions. That's not going to happen. And you're starting to see the commentary that's coming through, which quite rightly is saying is this is where you're starting to walk a very fine line in regards to tampering with the results of a race, where if McLaren are going to just start to move things around based on fairness, they're subjecting themselves to a lot of scrutiny and potentially some issues in regards to how they're seen by the stewards.
Well, they're allowed to make team orders. These are not outlawed. So I can't see that being an issue. But what will be an issue is if Oscar's team has had a discussion with McLaren and said, "You've told us not to hit each other. I was hit and not let back through." If they say, "Well, no, that's fair game. It was an accident," then what's Oscar going to do next round? If he's going to go for a dive, and if he nudges
Make
Lando,
it look like an accident.
Stiff whatever I'm going through. Like we've talked about this the last few weeks. It might be his only chance to get a world championship because no one knows what the McLaren's going to be like next year. He's 22 points in the lead. Now is the time to get some dog about you and take the win. Like if you've got the chance, go for it. He's not here to make friends with Lando. Just go for the win. Be the better driver.
You'll find there will be no more requests to swap places for the rest of the season. These next 6 races will be, if something screws up, live with it, move on. We're not changing places. You are out there driving for your skin.
We'll fix it in a pit stop.
If there's an incident, it will be fascinating from now on to see what happens, what instruction is given, and what do the drivers do. Like the drivers have both been pretty nice about it for most of the season, although we've seen tensions slowly rising. Yeah.
That's done.
I'm hanging out to see the next incident. It'll be fascinating.
The Constructors' Championship is in the bag.
Yeah.
They've got over $150 million in the kitty for next year. So, Zach, get your checkbook out.
So hold on to your Stetsons. We're about to see some fireworks, I think.
I had another rookie question about that 150 mil that the team gets. That they still have to operate within their cap, don't they? Like their spending cap.
The cost cap, yeah.
Yeah. So what does that 150 go towards? Because I'm assuming all the teams are over their cap, aren't they?
This is where, at the end of the year, a lot of the team get their bonuses based on where their teams finished in the order. So, again, as the Constructors World Champion, there'll be bonuses dished out across the entire 1,000+ employee body. But then it just makes it easier to operate next year in regards to what you're doing with the car.
Not everything's under the cost cap. So it's only the F1 operation side of the business. So there can be marketing and other bits and pieces that don't have a cap. And don't forget, these teams operate as a business. So it's valuable to be profitable anyway. So the more revenue they can get in, the more they can do for their business and to grow the value of the overall entity.
And because they've got that now too, Dan, everyone gets 2 slices of pizza at the party at the end of the year instead of 1. They've expanded that budget as well.
Oh, awesome.
From the McLaren Civil War with Max Verstappen's revival into the Drivers' Championship, I think it's a good segue for us to now go into the predictions for this week's race. As we're coming into the business end of the season, the stakes could not be higher. As Huppy, you and I are tied in first position. Lockie is only 3 points away, so we could call him Max. And Schwags is preparing for his late season surge. So with all that pressure, it's time to look at our predictions. Given that Huppy and I are neck and neck, I'm going to throw over to Dan and Lockie first. And then Huppy, I thought you and I could go head to head, going through pole, third, second, and then down to first. So, Dan, we've got the magic hat.
Putting it
which has gone into Bubba Gump.
Gone into Bubba Gump hat because I think that's going to be a good omen. Nothing's caught in the. No, we're all there.
Not sure there. Texas is right near the ocean, but okay, we'll go with Bubba Gump anyway. That's
4,
okay.
5, 6, 7. We're in 7. Very good. All right. Excuse the hat hair. All right, ready to rock and roll. Is that okay? I can start. First off the rack is George for pole. There you go.
George for pole.
Georgie.
Had a good race
Put
last
him back
week.
in the hat.
He did.
He'll be fired up, I reckon.
Yeah, hey.
He'll do something right. Car was off. Like, they had no even complaints with that car last week, and like George was pretty happy the whole way through by the sounds of it.
They were both pretty happy.
Few mix-ups in not quality in practice, but anyway. Yikes.
All right, for first.
Yeah, prepare yourself. What are we talking about,
Lewis.
Ferrari?
Lulu.
Lulu.
Ferrari could be quick.
Lulu for first.
You can always hope.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, you can hope. Oscar for second.
Good chance.
The champ. The winner.
Good
Oscar would be happy with that. He doesn't care if Lulu gets first.
True. That'd be a good outcome.
Lando for a fisticup in the car park. No, George for third.
George for third. Right.
George for third. Okay, so George
There
for
you go.
pole,
What could go wrong?
with Lewis in first, followed by Oscar, followed by George.
Drop them out.
Beautiful.
Put my hat back on. You heard it first.
All right, Lockie, over to you.
All right. I am going to go slightly different to Dan. So I am going to go for...
If you had the choice, you would. Really? I didn't.
So Esteban Ocon for pole.
Look, something very similar to that. Yep. Lando Norris to take pole position. I am going to go Piastri for the win. I'm going to say Lando is going to come second behind him, and I'm going to put Georgie in there for third.
All righty. So
Now,
we're
which
now
one
at
of
the
you two
point,
is going first?
going at the point here. Well, look,
Gonna go
given
count back.
that Happy was in first, I'll go first, followed by Happy. So then we'll get Happy's final first as the last prediction. So
Why don't you do
I'll-
them? Why don't you both write them down and then hold it up at screen together? So there's no.
So that way, what we can say is Happy's not cheating like he normally does. Is
no
that what
one's
we're
saying, "Oh, I
Right.
will." Sorry, there's a bit
this is
impromptu
probably the
there, but-
longest and hardest I've thought about the
geez.
predictions this
Chris
year.
has actually already written his down.
You could have told me to be
And you
prepared. I
can't
didn't bring my
copy-
paper
well, I
and
just
pens.
thought about it because
Oh,
I know you'd
quickly,
be
he's gonna
joking
jot
about,
them
I
down.
could just copy him and use a different strategy.
All right, so as Happy's feverishly writing down his predictions
I'm
for
gonna
the
have
race.
to tear up some bits of paper here. This
Oh,
is
this
going to be
box
It's almost
of
like
Tim Tams. I mean,
it's almost like
seriously.
Happy.
Oh no, it's all right. We can.
Maybe Happy was waiting to hear someone else's tips first
No.
and not.
I'm happy to go first, and what we'll do is we'll go pole, third, etc.
Wow.
All right.
So all right. So I'm going to for pole put down Oscar Piastri.
Right. For pole, this is really tough because of how Max is going at the moment.
I know. Max.
Max for pole. Here we go.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go from third to first now.
Third to first.
Third to first, yes. Just to raise the tension, raise the excitement for the
Second
viewers
loser to-
because, you know, we know how many people are just hanging on our predictions.
Tension might be a strong word, but okay.
So in third place, I'm going Charles Leclerc.
Interesting. For third place, Lando.
Lando Norris. In second,
Is your heart beating fast too, Dan? I mean,
Just on the edge of my seat here.
Now, Spotify listeners are just on the edge
I
of
know,
their seats.
because they
about
can't
this.
see what we can see. Like, this is
We're just moving along. Let's go.
this is where they go and subscribe.
this is better than this is.
All right. So in second place, I've got Max Verstappen.
All right. I've got, where am I?
Oscar Piastri.
Oscar
Oscar.
Piastri.
So you've got Esteban Ocon for first.
It's got Lance Stroll.
So-
I saw him right down before.
And so for first, so we know that I'm being transparent
I
on
can't
this.
read
I've got
Can't see.
Oscar
oh my God.
That's a
Piastri
shocking
for
colour.
first position.
Yeah.
All right.
Max is
And
going to win
Max
it.
Verstappen
from
for first.
pole.
Okay. Yep.
Well, this is really going to shake things up.
It will. It will.
Unless none of that happens and you'll end up in
They'll
the
take
same
all
point.
of
Unless-
each other out, and
unless
three
Dan
rookies will come
gets
through
all
and
the
win.
points.
The
Any-
Antonelli will be up there. You know, won't be anything.
Anything is possible. So
Well, so I think this is a really hard one to tip because it wasn't McLaren's strongest track last year, and the Red Bull's been looking fast, and Max is in great form. So, yeah, it's a tough one to pick. Any of us could do well out of this one, apart from Daniel.
Fair call. Yeah, that's fair.
and don't forget, both Oscar and Lando have not won on American soil. So, this will be the first win for either of them if they do take either Austin, Vegas, or in honor of Lachlan's hat, Mexico as one of the American races. That will be their first win.
Just rookie question: any reason they haven't won in the States? Is that just
They just haven't been
hasn't
fast
happened
enough, I
for
think.
them, or is it a bad track for them? Downforce, anything like that?
Oh, look,
particularly.
just the circumstances of Formula One. I mean, as I was saying, is Lando was in pole position at COTA last year, and it was he lost it in the first corner.
Lord in the first corner.
Okay.
They didn't nail the race setup. They didn't have ultimate pace either. So they would have learnt from last year. I mean, if they can roll out, but don't forget it's a sprint round too. They only get a very short amount of practice to make sure their setups are dialed in. So
Was it
it'll
a
be
sprint round
interesting.
last year?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So with the change in time zone, this is a 6 a.m. race for us here
Breakfast
in
race.
Australia. Breakfast race. So early rise, early bird catches the egg and bacon.
Worm.
So for all of our listeners, thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave us your comments as to
Who do you think is going to take out the Circuit of America's race?
Will Oscar extend his championship lead or will Lando chip away at it?
What KT should cook us for breakfast on Monday morning as we watch the race?
well, at least we know something will be cooking. So thank you again. We'll all be back next week with the review of the action-packed American Grand Prix. Until then, we'll see you on the next lap.